Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right, does anyone have a copy of their Inner Excellence self-help book for Purple Daily today?
Did you see that a reporter actually got a picture of the page that he goes back and reads? The highlighted portion of a page, which I guess he said, I do this during games a lot. The cameras just ordinarily don't catch me.
Do we have the text?
James Palmer, who used to be at an NFL Network.
Did he tweet it?
Find it. Yeah, it's tweeted out. Yeah, so he tweeted it out, and I guess he's like, I do this during games all the time. Good for him.
Okay, here it is.
Good for AJ.
It's a good lesson. If your team is beating the brakes off another team, but you only have one catch and need to read something to calm your mind from freaking out on your teammates selfishly.
Exactly.
Here's the highlighted excerpt. We've all had times when everything came together in perfect harmony, sacred moments when we were totally immersed in the experience and felt fully alive. We're so hard on ourselves, amplifying all our failures and regrets that we neglect to see what's still possible. A life of freedom filled with deep contentment, joy, and confidence, independent of circumstances. We're all human with the same deep desires and concerns. In the pursuit of extraordinary performance, it's easy to succumb to anxiety and pressure because so much of it is out of your control. When you learn to live a life that is fully engaged, however, you can perform your best and love the challenge.
There you go.
It's good wisdom. I don't know that I need my wide receiver brushing up on that, like in the third quarter of a playoff game.
Hey, if it stops him from going and yelling at my quarterback while I'm trying to win a football game, I'll take the book. What I loved was it's a book. It's not a tablet. It's old school, highlighted passages, very old school.
Because if he's got his phone out, people are going to be, first of all, like, I don't think you can. But then people are going to be like, oh, is he like scrolling Twitter during the game?
Yeah.
Even if it's an ebook,
Yes, exactly.
And sponsorship, right? It would have to be like a Microsoft Surface type of thing. Like what you couldn't have an iPad out there. That'd be a huge problem.
Nope. Microsoft, exactly right.
That Amazon Kindle, like that's not.
Right. No.
Major faux pas.
So we'll give some takes off Wild Card Weekend here, and there's a couple of little news nuggets previewing Vikings and Rams that are relevant. But let's start our week off. Vent line tonight. It's going to be a long, fun day here or an anxiety-filled day, depending on your perspective. But Quick Trip is here to help you through this Monday.
Yep, and exactly right. That tonight is the perfect example because guess what? You know what? Rams and Vikings, it's going to go late. You're going to need a few things. Some snacks for sure, possibly a meal, and also some caffeine as well. The Kruba coffee right there. That's right. Quick Trip has everything that you could possibly need. Been talking about it for quite some time. This time of year,
Do they sell books? Do they have books there?
They do not have books. They do not have books, but I'm sure that the friendly staff there could recommend books and, of course, keep that car filled up, especially in these cold winter months at Quick Trip. All of those things available at your friendly neighborhood Quick Trip.
Okay, people are pointing out in this highlighted book passage excerpt, A.J. Brown, he's highlighted and underlined.
Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
And people are pointing out that that's kind of odd behavior. You don't really. Maybe what he did was he underlined it first
and didn't have a highlighter.
And someone's like, it's actually easier if it's a highlighter.
I've done that though. Like you've got a pen and you like a passage, but you don't have the highlighter right by your side. So you underline it. Like it's your book, who cares, right? And then you go back and highlight it.
And then you put the little like markers in too, the little tabs that can.
I never went that far, but you certainly could.
This is just, I have so much PTSD right now. This literally just reminds me of studying or like finals or that's what I don't read a lot, but this reminds me of studying.
Okay.
And now I'm just having.
Oh, you're okay. You're too good for self-help books, self-improvement, huh?
Yeah. No, it's called looking in the mirror. That's my self-help every day. Just like, look at you. You're gonna be good today, Declan. You're gonna figure this out.
I think this is far preferable. Like we're blessed here because Justin Jefferson's such a good guy, right? Like he's so normal for that position, and he's a team guy. But you know what? If we're going back old school, Moss and Carter especially, who was like ragging on teammates, I'd much prefer self-help book.
Yeah. What about the other side? If you're the Packers, your season just ended, and the opposing wide receiver is just kicked back on the bench reading self-help books the whole time. That's kind of embarrassing.
Well, yeah. Well, the Packers. That was see you later, Green Bay.
Actually, should we give the people what they want to start the show here?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
We do it after Packer losses because it's always fun to check in on the Packer media platforms, see how Packer fans and media are reacting to devastating losses. So they got beat in the playoffs yesterday. Let's start Packer Vent Line here on the Cheesehead TV YouTube channel, where the boys were suffering through a tough first half. Packers late second quarter. Packers are looking to get on the board. Let's just get 3, make it a 1-score game here and see what happens.
All right, boys. Okay, please make this.
Oh, wow.
$38-yarder. Oh, my God, he missed it. God. Oh, my God. Oh, I mean, it looked like a good snap and a good hold. I don't know. You just shanked it to the right. Corey. Oh, being a Packers fan is great. It's the best.
I love Corey's just.
Even before it happens, he's like, oh, boy.
And the gloves.
He's wearing the receiver gloves.
He always wears those. We gotta get a pair for Judd. We gotta get the Vikings green.
No. I don't need a pair of gloves.
Stick-em gloves.
I've got the hand warmer. I've got the quarterback hand warmer.
Dude, you gotta put the hand warmer on. It's upside down though. Can you flip it around?
There you go. I got the.
It's like a fanny pack, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's like gloves, man. You can wear these outside.
But isn't it meant that's like a waistband, right? You could throw that around your waist.
Yeah, it's got a clip.
Yeah, but it's but I don't think stuff would stay in here. I think it might fall out. So like if you tried to put something in here, it might be a problem. But anyway, very warm, very comfortable.
Oh, like as a fanny pack. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I meant like it's like a fanny pack and that it goes around your.
It makes you feel like you're playing quarterback outside. I mean, you could wear this in Lambeau Field and keep your hands all nice and toasty and throw passes.
Well, you're not going to be wearing it in Lambeau Field anymore this season because you're right. Season's over.
Not for this season.
Live from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All studios in downtown Milwaukee. Alongside Packers Hall of Famer Mark Tauscher, here's the Emmy Award winner, Homer.
Yes, it is the Packer postgame show. It went about as expected as the sun rising in the east. Everybody picked Philly, and Philly won 22-10.
Emmy? I didn't know Homer, ESPN Milwaukee, by the way. I didn't know Homer was an Emmy Award winner.
Oh, sure he is. He's been doing this a long time.
I love the One Call That's All studio tagline sponsorship. That is, again, that's not PTSD, but those bring me back to some days on the radio of the One Call That's All studios. That is phenomenal.
Squeeze 4 different It's the such and such phone line in the such and such studios on such and such station.
Sponsored, brought to you by such and such.
What this season told us, we should have been listening. Seasons tell stories, not games. Seasons will tell you the story. The story this year has been, we're just not ready yet. We can't make the big plays. We're too sloppy. When your coach is talking about playing too sloppy a football in week 17, you're not winning playoff games. And I got caught up a little bit in last year's great rise. This year, we never had that rise. This was unleavened bread. We never rose to the occasion. There wasn't enough yeast. Whatever makes bread go. We have been flatline bread all season, and now it's all cold. You get hit with it, and you're out the door. It's time to go home.
Tausch.
Little Tausch, man.
Unleavened
He's like,
bread.
I got caught up a little bit, beating Dallas last
biblical,
year.
going biblical on the post-game show, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they the way they ended last season, beating Dallas on the road, and then the San Francisco game. Even like on this side of the fence, covering the Vikings every single day. You're like, yeah, but the Packers, man, that's a young ascending roster, and the way Jordan Love played, and they were competitive, but they were much more like, I feel like, the pre-run version of themselves. There's a whole discussion here about to what extent do you fear the Packers, or where do you sort of put them going forward after the way their season ended?
Yeah. But we can have that once the Vikings are done. And the Vikings aren't done yet because we still got one more game. Super wild card weekend. I don't care what the league says. Super wild
I do not like this Monday night nonsense. Just put it on Saturday and Sunday. Like 3 days of this, and now there's a short week, and now the Vikings or the Rams are gonna have to be in 3 different time zones over the next 5 days. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Put it on Saturday and Sunday.
I love it. Give me 3. The short week is a problem competitively because they won't put you on Saturday if you play Monday, but they'll put you on Sunday, and the other team's going to have a full day and a half to prepare. But if this was if the Bucks and the Commanders are playing tonight, it's because it's the Vikings and we're sitting here waiting and whatever. But if it was like the Vikings played yesterday and beat the Rams, wouldn't you be excited to watch another football game tonight? Oh man, tonight's great. We get the Broncos and the Bills tonight.
And imagine how much more that Disney is paying for this because it's a Monday night playoff game. Like this is the thing is, if we really want to have this discussion about, what's the NFL doing competitive advantage, well, then the discussion is you can't play on Thursday nights. But they do. Well, so guess what? They're going to play on Monday nights.
Wednesday Christmas games.
Yeah,
I mean,
this
games
this
in 50
is
days.
I feel like we are tip of the iceberg here. I feel like they're going to find a way to extend. 3 games on Sunday is a lot. 3 games on Sunday is a lot. Why not 2 on? How
about a Tuesday game?
They're going to find some way, and
Super
we could
wild card month. It's going to be great.
Something's going to happen here where they're going to find a way to because 2 games on Saturday is a sweet spot, right? But 3 games on Sunday. Why not have 2 games on? So this is we're going to see more and more. The next TV contract, they're going to find more ways to extend this whole thing,
to gouge and to.
18 games is coming too.
Let's hear from a couple crazy Packer fans. This might be the same fan, just 2 different clips. I'm not 100% sure, but let's hear from this person on ESPN Milwaukee.
Barkley was out there. Come on. You cannot do that. And if LaFleur is going to get in anybody's face, he should have got in Nix's face there. And then the last thing, this is the last thing that irritates me about the NFL. Nowhere else can you hit somebody in the helmet with your hand or anywhere other than the offense can do a stiff arm. And I'm telling you.
Yep, I agree with you. That's got to go. Agreed.
Yeah, you're defenseless. The only way you're getting that player down is if you have another player, a defensive player on that player to help him out. That needs to be outlawed. No one needs to do that. That's just garbage.
They're mad about getting stiff-armed for 3 hours by Saquon Barkley.
Well, you know what, too? This is I want Vikings fans to listen to Packers fans. For the past month, I've heard more bitching about the referees, right? Listen to how dumb they sound. This is why you don't blame, officials are going to make bad calls against both teams. But this whole thing for a while of a meme with a Packer player or a referee with a Packer jersey on.
Yeah.
This is why you don't bitch and moan constantly. The face mask against Darnold, against the Rams, was a legitimate conversation. But everything, they did this and then they did that. It just sounds so, you lost the game. And by the way, no matter what transpired officiating wise, the Packers deserved to lose. And I think the score should have been worse.
It did. Yeah. They couldn't move the ball.
This is why.
Also, you know what? Maybe your defensive players should go in a little lower on the best running back in the NFL. Maybe they're coming in high. He's going to stiff arm you.
Well, yeah.
Your technique is bad.
And then the idiots get Saquon for a really nice stop late in the game, and decide to throw him down after the whistle. You're just idiots.
Yeah. Let's do one more here. There's so much more where this came from, but Packer fans coping after their season ends.
How do you feel about next season?
All we have to do now, we got the draft in Green Bay. I'm in Green Bay. I'm going to chill out now. I can't wait till the draft. We need to get some better players.
You feel
in here.
Positive about next year?
Yeah. I do, because we have our franchise quarterback, and we have
you still believe
a good defense.
He's the same level of franchise quarterback as you did at the end of last season?
Well, I mean, he was
just
hurt.
asking.
There's a lot of stuff that went on this year. All
right,
and
so I'll take that as a yes, kind of. Thanks, Shugs.
You feel good about next year, right? I mean, what about the quarterback, right? No.
Jordan Love, there is a definite conversation now. Like, this is the cautionary tale. This is the cautionary tale about, oh man, you kept Rodgers and now Love's going to step right in and he's going to be great. And now what if he's not and you've paid him?
Well, he is. So next year, this is to your point. They felt like they had no choice because, okay, he's up for a contract, and our choices are either give him $55 million, which is the going market rate, or I guess franchise him and get into this awkward dance and maybe let him walk. But starting next year, Jordan Love takes up over 10% of the salary cap. In 3 years, over 22% of the salary cap. Obviously, you could extend or add some void years or whatever, but from this point forward, his contract makes it harder for you to bring in talented free agents and pay other players. Green Bay does a good job drafting and developing, so I'm not saying they're going to be a 4-win team, but it kind of feels like they're in that quarterback purgatory where they're going to win 9 or 10, maybe 11 games here and there, but unless he rises up and plays like he did in the last 8 games, and there's room for that, maybe he has a renaissance next year, but it kind of feels like they're in quarterback purgatory here for the next handful of seasons.
Wouldn't you have liked to have found this out, though, while he was still on his rookie contract? Like, that's the thing about you keep Darnold and then you wait on JJ and then you pay JJ, and it's like, okay. Well, the Packers are a perfect example of the cautionary tale here. It might work, but if it doesn't, you sat on a guy's rookie contract needlessly, because at some point in time you could have made the progression to him.
Yes, and this is something we haven't even really tied these two stories together, but Jordan Love, different circumstances, because Darnold tanked his value being on the field for the first handful of years. Love's value, probably, like, they weren't going to get a first-round pick for him as like a second, third-year guy, former first-round pick. But he plays one full season. First half, very underwhelming. Second half, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So you had 1 year of sample size, and he was really good for half of it. That was enough for the market to dictate that he was worth $55 million.
Right.
So we sit here and have all these Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold objectively has had a better season this year than Jordan Love did in his first full year as a starter. And we're sitting here trying to figure out ways where maybe you could get him on like a Baker Mayfield. What if it was like a 35, 40? If Jordan Love had one good year and made $55 million a year, and I'm Sam Darnold's agent, and I'm saying, well, my guy's more talented. Look at where he was drafted. And my guy had a better full season than Jordan Love. We might actually be shocked at this, unless he plays terribly tonight. We might be shocked at the sticker price on a Sam Darnold contract.
Well, I think if he plays well tonight, that they win, and let's say he plays well in Philadelphia then, and they lose, but he still plays well. I mean, I don't think that Spotrac projection of $50 million or a little bit more is completely out of line. When you look at what teams will pay, which is why it makes perfect sense for him to move on. Like, it makes perfect sense. So, but yeah, there is an entire conversation, but the Packers got really smug about it. Felt like, Jordan Love, see what we did? It's like, no, what you did was not the right thing. Like, then you shouldn't have drafted him.
Yeah, I mean,
at that time, you should have waited to draft a quarterback if you thought that was going to happen.
The praise of I agree. Throwing a guy into the fire too early and then making a judgment, what's almost ruined Darnold and Baker Mayfield and all these guys. So I am all for slow cooking, at least for a half a season, maybe even a full season, which I think we were pushing for with J.J. McCarthy. Even if he was healthy, just let him sit there. But the Packers go too far the other way and they're lauded for it, right? Look at the patience and the meticulousness that they go about developing quarterbacks. Right. And there's a reason why they've only won one Super Bowl in the Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love era, because their quarterbacks are super expensive and it's really hard to. So my next question for you guys off this is, how do you view the Packers going forward compared to the Vikings? A very clear line was drawn, regular season and playoffs, of who the Packers can and can't beat. Like, if it's Eagles, Lions, Vikings, if it's the best teams in the league, they're below that. They could still, they're a good drafting, developing team. They've got some talent. How do you view the Packers?
I mean, they were like, their record indicated that they were maybe even a little year ahead, because last year they were 9-8, right? They sneak in as the last team. They kick the crap out of Dallas in Dallas Stadium. And then they actually had a very good showing and could have made a case to be in the NFC title game. So I think expectations got a little more heightened there. And this is where sometimes like your record is different than what you are perceived to be. Like the Packers on paper were a better team than last year, right? Because the other team went 9-8. They sneak in this year. They back into a playoff spot with 2 weeks to go. And things are looking a little more different than it did a year ago. But, I mean, they're always relevant. They have never been horrendous in the last, 15 years, at least in the Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love era. They have $51 million in cap space for next year. They could draft a really good player. So I don't think like I look at Green Bay of, this is where it all goes out. Jordan Love also played hurt a lot this year. I still think that they're a formidable foe in the NFC North. I definitely wouldn't be sleeping on the Packers taking a significant step back in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they feel like they're always going to be competitive until they aren't. Like, for the most part. This doesn't feel like it's going to slip back to a 4-win team. But, yeah, I think that they are a team that, if Jordan Love, because he did get hurt in the first game of the season and missed time, and I don't know that he ever completely came back. And I also don't think he probably should have played at least starting out that Vikings game back in September. But all of that being said, they definitely have rolled the dice, and this is I think it's a very good lesson about becoming too cocky with how you're going to manipulate a quarterback situation. So I think they'll be fine, but I certainly don't think that they're as smart as they think that they are consistently.
They are always going to be in the hunt for, as long as they've got Matt LaFleur as a head coach. Jordan Love is a talented quarterback. Offensive line, although there were a couple injuries in that game that are like their starting center got rolled up on in the second half. So we'll have to see what the injury report says. But yeah, but right now, the Vikings are in a really good spot. And I think even if you think like Matt LaFleur and KOC kind of cross each other out, two really good coaches, I think I would take the Vikings quarterback situation over the Packers right now. And maybe I'm just undervaluing Jordan Love. But I'd rather not be paying $55 million for someone that I know for a fact isn't one of the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks in the league. Doesn't mean they're going to be a 7-win team or a 6-win team and tank next year. They're going to find a way. They have a really smart coach, and they are generally really competitive for 30 years and really well run.
Well, and they've slipped into the same thing with slightly deeper playoff runs that the Vikings did a long time ago, which is they are consistently really good and competitive. Are they a Super Bowl caliber team? Are they building towards that? I don't know the answer to that question is yes. In fact, I think it's not. I think they are a very competitive team. I think they're a regular playoff team, and I think that they will make playoff runs. But do I say, you know what? I think next year this team's got a window to win a Super Bowl. I don't.
All depends on Jordan. All depends on Jordan.
Absolutely.
Love.
Absolutely.
100%. Okay, we'll get to some Vikings news nuggets and then some more Wild Card Weekend takes here. What's going on Underdog after Wild Card Weekend, Dex?
Yeah, I got let's see here. What did I have locked in for this game against the Rams? I locked this in on Friday. I wanted to be early on it. So I took Justin Jefferson over on longest reception, 26.5. That's hit actually a lot this year. I did take Jonathan Gennard tackles. You can do defensive props. You can do defensive props on Underdog too. Just 1.5 higher on Jonathan Gennard solo tackles. I think I feel pretty good about that one. And then I did take Tutu Atwell. He had a big game, I believe, against the Vikings, and only a 10.5 prop there. Kind of like that as well. For those Underdog users, you get a little profit boost, get a little extra tokens on Wildcard Weekend. And the new users, if you want to sign up, get in on this action. Promo code SCORE for a 50% deposit match.
MSP Plumbing, Judd, helping power Purple Daily today.
Absolutely true, because commitment is one of the most important words at MSP Plumbing, Heating and Air. For over a century now, families have relied upon MSP for all their plumbing, drains, heating, and cooling needs. As a 100% family-owned and operated business, MSP is committed to taking care of your family, which means keeping your home toasty and warm, especially this time of year. Right now, get $50 off any HVAC or plumbing repair. Just give them a call. 651-615-4292, or check out their website, callmsp.com. That's callmsp.com. Committed to the safety and the comfort of your home.
Also, as we're finding out here these last couple weeks, this is dirty windshield season, and that's where Splash windshield wiper fluid comes in to help you see clearly and safely on the road and help you see the road ahead for the Vikings in these playoffs. Being able to see clearly while driving in your car is critical, and you want to make sure you're prepared with an extra bottle or two of Splash handy when you need it. It's also harder with the weather. It's like -4 degrees temperature this morning. Probably not going to go and get a car wash. So Splash windshield wiper fluid comes in really handy, and they have an amazing jingle too. Apply a little splash when your windshield's getting dirty. Just apply a little splash. Football. Boom. Okay, on the Vikings front. So news came out over the weekend, in addition to LA just being uprooted, players, coaches dealing with wildfires, their homes, their families, their animals, everything, and kind of being displaced. And not a lot. We didn't talk a lot about the Chargers. Looked like they were completely out of whack against the Texans, and they were dealing with a lot of the same stuff. Obviously, the exact same stuff as the Rams are. So, I mean, if that was any indication. But then it came out over the weekend. Matthew Stafford's wife put out on social that their 2 7-year-old twin daughters were hospitalized on Saturday night in Arizona. The team's been in Arizona since like Thursday or Friday. But they got hit with some sort of bug or illness. And I think they're okay. But they were like, she sent a picture of them in a hospital bed in Arizona. So Matthew Stafford's been dealing with daughters in the hospital, LA fires, traveling to Arizona, all this stuff. I don't know, man. It's so hard to get a read on what's going to happen tonight. Either I could see the Rams just using it all as a catalyst and rallying together. I could also see a very real human scenario where the last week has just been a lot to deal with on top of trying to stay up on your preparation for a Vikings team that's pissed off from getting smoked by the Lions on national TV last week.
You know, it's so tough. Like I think that you can rally around a lot of things. I don't know how much you can galvanize around this. Like, it's such a human thing. Like teams rally around a common cause sometimes, but this feels like such a, like they basically the Cardinals sent their plane or their planes to Los Angeles to pick up the families, the pets, all of this, move them to Arizona for the weekend to play this game. Like you said, Stafford's kids are sick. Just feels like a lot. Like if this was the Vikings, I don't know that I would sit here and say I think that they can rally around just complete turmoil. The thing too is, you know, like the fires, that doesn't feel like something like that feels, because it's so personal to like every player in a different way. So yes, on the surface, it's we can rally around this, but some guys' homes are in jeopardy. Probably some guys are like, it just feels like a lot. So with all, I hope the kids are fine. I hope everyone's fine here, just to be abundantly clear. But what I'm about to say is I think this is a huge advantage if you are the Vikings, because this one feels like too much. I liken it to sort of like on a very small scale when in 2010 when the dome roof collapsed. It was overwhelming. Like by that point in time, I think everyone, including the players, it's just like, this is too much. This feels like too much as opposed to one common rallying cause.
Yeah. Ed Foley chimes in the YouTube comment section and says, funny how Phil thought it was going to be a huge Vikings fans tonight, and then the Rams buy 40,000 tickets before the Vikings even get a chance. So that the NFL opened up the first wave of ticket purchasing for Rams fans and for Cardinals season ticket holders, I believe. But I still stand by what I said last year. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, whether it's through secondary market or however, there will be a lot more Vikings fans in that stadium than there would have been at SoFi Stadium in LA. I'm not saying they're going to outnumber necessarily, but it's going to be much closer to an even split than it would have been in SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, easily. And the thing too is, are you telling me 40,000 Rams fans? Like, so I guess the plan is to have like 3 or 4 buses at SoFi, bus the fans to the game. But are you telling me 40,000 Rams fans, many of whom live in a city that unfortunately is on fire, are going to be like, good evacuation plan. Let's go watch the Rams-Vikings game? No, I think this is going to be, home field wise, I think it's going to sound more like a Vikings home game. And keep in mind too, when the Vikings played at SoFi, that sounded pretty close at times to a Vikings home game. So
yeah, it's not like Steelers fans trying to find a way, or Niners fans travel really well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I just really want I want this to be first off, I want it to be a good game. We got a good one last night between Commanders and Bucks. Like that was an awesome end. And just a really good game overall, but like we had some clunkers. So it just felt like going into the Vikings-Rams game, we're finally going to have like a chaotic, amazing game. And I do expect that regardless, because these two teams had a great game on Thursday Night Football. It's two prolific head coaches. And, a Stafford situation, I think his wife said too, like she had the flu, then her kids got the flu. So I think she was even saying like, I was trying to stay away from Matt. And I don't even know if Matthew, that is, ended up like, I don't even know if he was even staying in the house because his wife had the flu, then his kids got the flu, and that's the last thing you need going into a playoff game, right? So I think the momentum or advantage is on the Vikings going into this game. I know there's a ton of fans there too, and I'm ready for chaos. We've been waiting all weekend. We had to watch all these games. I'm back on my soapbox about a Monday Night Football game, but very excited for this regardless.
Jordan Rodriguez, who covers the Rams for The Athletic, right? She said, here's another tentacle to all of this, that there's a printed screenshot in the Rams locker room above a door of Dan Campbell telling Kevin O'Connell after that game in Week 18, I'll see you in 2 weeks. I worried about this being whiteboard. The Vikings are essentially victims of stray whiteboard material.
What the Vikings do? Yeah.
They didn't ask for the smoke.
No.
They didn't
KOC blew it off too.
He did. He
Like,
kind
he
of
just
just
went-
was like, come on, dude.
Yeah, see ya, bye.
It wasn't like KOC said it in a moment of what he thought was privacy and it got out. This is a Dan Campbell inside job here, but the Rams are using we'll see you in 2 weeks as motivation apparently inside their practice room.
I mean, good for McVay, I guess, but this to me feels like like I don't know. So you're going to use that to beat the Vikings, but the Vikings didn't participate? Feels like a reach. It feels like a real reach. Like if you beat the Vikings and then it worked out. It did not. That your next opponent was the Lions, right? Then I could see like, oh, look at this.
Didn't
They said
expect
they-
to see us.
didn't- Yeah,
did ya?
yeah. How
Danny
about
boy.
that? But this feels like a
Danny
real
boy.
reach. And again, I'm going to come back to when you're in the midst of what a lot of those players and coaches are, right? Are you really like, so like there's all of this absolute chaos in life, like real life stuff that's really bad. Are you really like, yeah, look at that motivational? Like that's my big thing about sports. I feel as if you can't have almost full like attention, like nothing else matters, it's really hard to win. And it's got to be really hard if you're with the Rams right now to be like, the fact our city is burning means nothing. We got a game tonight. It just, there are certain things that I think really help. Like, yeah, let's go beat those guys. And then there are certain things where it's almost like a slap of reality where it's like, hold on a second here. I had to evacuate my house on Thursday. And now I'm supposed to care about this football game like it's it feels to me like a real reach. And the Lions thing, I would have held that if I was going to play the Lions.
But it's not about the Lions. It's because I see some pushback in the comments here too. That Milspec says winner heads to Philly anyway, so who cares what Dan Campbell said? It's these guys, coaches, players, they latch on to any little thing. Michael Jordan, right? Athletes they're just looking for that little slight. And the slight was there's a team sitting at the top of the NFC bracket that doesn't even think why would we even be a factor? We're not going to get, it's about the Vikings getting past the first round. So I see it, but to your point, there's so much stuff that has happened since then.
It just feels like a reach.
Yeah. All right, let's go around the room at least one lap here. Other things from Wild Card Weekend, if you guys have other takes or thoughts from what you saw. I know Judd was just glued to his couch, did not move an inch.
Yep. Hockey and football.
Is critical of anyone that would dare hang out with their friends.
The
and play
Wild?
Halo.
Oh, no, you could hang out with. I never said that. I said you don't need to play games because you can just be immersed in your beer and football, and in my case, hockey as well. My takeaway, and Dex touched on this briefly, but my takeaway is this. We got 5 games in 2 days, and we got one good game, like one really close game. The totality of the 4 games besides that, they were decided by a total of 70 points. Like, it wasn't nearly what I hoped for. Like, I thought we'd get a couple. I'm you know what, a clunker's a clunker, right? Like you're going to get a clunker. You can't be like, I can't believe we didn't get 5 great games. Really disappointed though that it came down to last night and that was really the only close game. The Packers and Eagles game was close for a while, but it never felt like it. So yeah, my takeaway was, I guess it wasn't super after all, and I'm very disappointed.
But it's kind of been really, I think is this year 4 of the new format or year 3 where there's a 7th team getting in? The Packers beat the 2 seed Cowboys last year, but Wild Card Weekend has been a dud more often than not, I feel like, in recent history.
Always disappointed.
I'll still take it because it's football.
Yeah.
It's still,
oh yeah,
it's excitement, and the games are over by the 3rd quarter. But Mark Cuban 12, 13 years ago said, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered about the NFL. Have we reached the hogs get slaughtered portion of this? From are we letting too many teams into the playoffs? Is the 7 seed just a hog being led to the slaughter? And also, is it too much an advantage for only one team to get the bye? Because for years and years, decades, 2 teams got a bye. So if you were the 1 or the 2 seed, you get to sit there, rest up. Now, the 2 seed, it might be an easy victory, but they still have to play a game and maybe suffer some injuries, and the other team is resting up. I guess, do we just plow forward, or should the NFL actually look at changing or reducing?
Well, 16 games and 6 playoff teams was perfect, and 2 byes was perfect. But unfortunately, where Cuban, I guess, has been wrong so far is as long as the league can get more and more money from TV, basically, they're not going to. So, this isn't going to change. But, I just, look, again, I wasn't expecting, and I'm not expecting 5 great games. I would have just 2 close games. And Tampa and Washington, probably not a great game, but it was really close and compelling and exciting. That's what I wanted. But unfortunately, if the NFL were to look at what's best, right? They'd play 16 games because that was the perfect schedule. They'd have 6 playoff teams. They'd have 2 byes. They would probably play no Thursday games except for the Thanksgiving Day game. So, yes, they've gotten to that point, but I don't think it costs them. I think they just make more and more. But, yeah, just give me one more good game. Give me one more compelling game. Perhaps we'll see it tonight.
Man, what happened to Justin Herbert? I wish someone on this show was passionate about when is he going to graduate into the elite status. And 4 picks. I mean, good Lord. I mean, that was more than he threw all season, right? He only threw in the regular season 3.
Yeah.
So he threw 4 in one game over the course of 500 pass attempts. He only threw 3. Oh, boy. Rough one for him. And C.J. Stroud, who, yes, I mean, took a step back in his sophomore season from an amazing rookie campaign. I mean, that dude now has 2 playoff wins in 2 years. Like, he's playing the AFC divisional game for the 2nd straight year, and we'll see what happens. They're probably going to be decently underdogs against KC, but he showed up in a big way, and Chargers, it feels like I've been waiting for Justin Herbert to graduate into that elite status, and still can't happen.
Dex deserves to talk his smack about Justin Herbert on the show right now. So we will yield to Dex. He's played in 2 playoff games in his career. One of them, as you just outlined, he threw more interceptions than he did the entire regular season. And then in the other one, I don't know if you guys remember the 27-0 blown lead by the Chargers at Jacksonville, which obviously, like, hey, defense, we're spotting you at 27-0. Can you maybe not lose the game? But the offense did nothing. Justin Herbert and the offense did nothing in the second half of that game against the Jaguars. So his 2 playoff games to this point have been about as embarrassing and devastating as you can get for a guy who's that talented. And while I am not ready to admit long-term defeat in this Justin Herbert discussion, short-term Declan 100% deserves to talk that smack and to get the upper hand here.
As I texted you guys, it wasn't his fault. His offensive line didn't play well. For all we know, his house is on fire. I mean, there's so many things. It's just not his fault, okay? Let's not blame him. Let's not blame him.
It's going down the Kirk Cousins.
I'm a Herbert crusader now. I'm a Herbert. Nothing's his fault. It was all everyone else's fault. Jim Harbaugh coached a terrible game. It was that was a dud of a game too.
It was brutal.
I thought the Texans were terrible to start the game, so I thought, oh my God, Chargers are going to blow them out. So
I know. Ladd McConkey winds up with 197 yards, including the 86-yarder. And Herbert only had like 50 more yards, maybe less than that, like 45 more yards to everybody else on the team. So not good. Well, unless you count the interception yardage. So I'm going to, for my biggest remaining take here off Wildcard Weekend, I'm going to defend a former Vikings defensive coordinator. The noise out of Pittsburgh right now, Steelers fans are done with Mike Tomlin. They want change. They want him fired. And I just want to put things into context for Steelers fans because much like Kevin O'Connell has become sort of a victim of his own success, like the dude literally won 14 games with Sam Darnold. And I got Vikings fans in my mentions all weekend saying it's Super Bowl or bust. On what planet was that the expectation 6 months ago? Super Bowl would be awesome, but let's put this into context. Mike Tomlin over the last 6 seasons, here are his quarterback situations since 2018. Elderly Ben Roethlisberger, who got hurt like 2 years before his career was over. So Mason Rudolph started a year. And then it was even more elderly Ben Roethlisberger for like a year. Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, Justin Fields, and now aging Russell Wilson, who was deemed maybe even like close to out of the league when he was done with his 2 years in Denver, right? And despite those quarterbacks over 6 years, Mike Tomlin is 58-41, 17 games over 500, averaging 10 wins in those seasons. What if Mike Tomlin had an actual quarterback like he did with Ben Roethlisberger for all those years? Now, the Steelers are always drafting like 18th or 20th, so it's hard to, you're not going to draft Shedeur. But I just want to come to the defense of a former Vikings defensive coordinator that dude would get scooped up in a heartbeat for $20 million, either as a coach or a broadcaster, and then get back in after a year. But just be careful, Steelers fans. He is dragging subpar quarterbacks and, in some cases, rosters to 10 wins, and you guys want him fired just because it'll make you feel good for a minute. And then what, you're gonna bring in a coordinator who's never done it before? So give Mike Tomlin a real quarterback is what give him Sam Darnold. If you're the Steelers, would you trade your late second-round pick, Vikings franchise Sam? He's young. He can find George Pickens down the field. He's big, athletic, can probably hang in that cold weather in Pittsburgh late in the season. Mike Tomlin has a great culture that he's built, right? You don't have to worry about some incompetent coach. Like, if I'm the Steelers, I'd be much more likely to give up a second-round pick and pay Sam Darnold $45 million than I would be to fire Mike Tomlin. And
the best part is the Steelers don't fire coaches. So I don't think that they're going to. I mean, they've had three coaches
trade steam out there.
But they've had three coaches since 1969. They do not fire coaches. Now, eventually, when the Rooney family does not own the team, my guess is that will change. But I think Mike Tomlin is in zero jeopardy. Zero, which is smart. It would be nice if the front office could find a quarterback. I don't know what Mike's involvement is in personnel moves. He's not obviously the GM. It would be nice to go out and get him a quarterback. But I think if the Steelers shopped him, if they said, we're going to trade him, I think they could trade him in a day. Like, someone would take him in a heartbeat. He's a really good coach. He is a really good coach. In fact, it's funny because, the questions that surround Brian Flores, who has been this team's DC now for 2 years, are legitimate questions still in some cases. Mike Tomlin proved in 1 year in the same coordinator position here that he was a head coach. And he was a young man. But as I've always told you guys, the second that guy got up to the podium, he commanded a respect, and he had this CEO like that's the thing, right? Is Brian Flores prepared in his career to become a CEO of a franchise, which is what a coach is? Mike Tomlin was like 34, and you saw that. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't go away. So it's not like he got dumb. So, yeah, I think if the Steelers shopped him tomorrow, which I don't think they're going to do, they could trade him in a heartbeat and maybe for like a first-round pick.
Who was it? Somebody on one of these pregame shows or one of the national shows floated the idea of swapping. If you're the Cowboys, Mike McCarthy's contract is up this week. It's super rare that any coach gets to like full lame duck status and then gets to the end. And with 1 week before his contract, they're even rejecting the Bears' overtures to interview him. But like McCarthy knows that the Bears are interested. Someone floated the idea of the Cowboys and the Steelers just swapping coaches. McCarthy is a Pittsburgh guy. He's like from Pittsburgh.
No, he is from
Tomlin.
Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Tomlin goes to Dallas. I actually think this is one of my weekend statements for you guys on Mackey and Judd. We can expand on it, but I actually think the Bears, Mike McCarthy would be just he's an offensive-minded guy. He has a proven winning track record. You need an adult who can just like put together a culture. The Bears could do a lot worse than Mike McCarthy, but why is Jerry Jones still sitting on this? Is he waiting for like a Tomlin discussion? Is he waiting for...
Why wouldn't you just allow the Bears to talk to him? Like, it was a week. It's like a week. They're like, no, weird. We're denying access. But if I'm the Steelers, I hang up the phone. I am not trading Mike. I think Tomlin is fantastic. And is there a chance that his act is worn thin there? I guess, but I would take that chance. I mean, McCarthy he's had success. But that being said, I don't think it's a competition. I mean, I think Tomlin is in upper echelon. And McCarthy right now, I think he's fine. But, I mean, he's a guy who's probably going to coach before he's done, like 4 teams, right? Like, I could see him bouncing to the Bears next, then being fired there, and in 5 years, he's head coach of the Broncos or something. I don't know. Yeah. He's just...
But, like, if you're the Bears... No, I'll save it. We'll expand more on some NFL stuff on cheap plug, Mackey and Judd, one of our other podcasts, which you can find, scorenorth.com, full list of everything we do. Just... And, if you're a Vikings fan, you should root for the Bears to try another coordinator who's never done it before, because they chew those dudes up, spit them out. They love to experiment with the Matt Nagy's and the Eberfluses. Mark Trestman's going to save us. He's an offensive genius.
The problem now there is the Bears, it feels like, have some very influential people trying to make decisions. Football decisions they probably shouldn't be.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. In New England, there's one guy making decisions, maybe 2. But it's like Robert Kraft and his son. And Robert Kraft knows what he's doing for 30 years. And they got savaged over the weekend for like expediting the process and making a sham of the Rooney Rule. Listen, Aaron Glenn turned them down, and they knew that they wanted Mike Vrabel, so they decisively went after Mike Vrabel, whatever. The Bears have a million cooks in the kitchen, and Kevin Warren is trying to, and Ryan Poles might be on the hot seat, and the McCaskey family, right? So that's how you wind up with a list of 37 coaches that you're going to try and interview. And how did you not get a jump start? You fired your coach in season, for God's sakes, and you couldn't have a narrowed list? Why are you 3 months later after you fire your coach, or 2 months later, you have a list of 16 people or whatever it is? The whole thing is ridiculous.
And the Jets have talked to 87,000 people so far.
Them too.
It's unbelievable.
Rex Ryan is very confident on ESPN's pregame show.
Yeah, and I guess
get that job.
I guess a WFAN host came out and said that he had talked to his sources and said Rex has no chance. Right? You know what? Rex is like that TV job is perfect for him.
It is. But I do think I'd love to see him in that element again, get a crack at it, because the Jets are another. There's certain franchises that you can't just go in and be like a coordinator that no one's. You're going to get chewed up, and Rex at the very least will not get chewed up. So, anyways, any other final thoughts from you guys going into this Vikings-Rams game tonight? Vikings vent line right after the game. It'll be the place to be. Purple Daily YouTube channel.
I don't have trepidation. It's probably bad luck, but I don't have trepidation. I think the Vikings are going to. Now, I'm not saying that they are going to win decisively, despite the fact the majority of teams did win decisively. I don't have a lot of fear here. I think Darnold is going to. I'm not saying he's going to come out and be great. I think he's going to have a far superior game. I think the pressure of the game is going to be very weird because it's not going to feel like a true playoff game. Mm-hmm. I think that the Rams have 1,000 things completely understandably that they are focused on that don't involve football. So I don't have a lot of trepidation. I think the Vikings are going to end up playing the Eagles at 2:00 next Sunday. The trepidation will creep in there, but there will be plenty of time to talk about that. But I feel pretty good about the Vikings' chances.
I don't feel as amped up in a good way as I did going into the Lions game for the number 1 seed. Like just the uncertainty of that was like palpable, and we could feel some of that. I don't feel like that going into this Rams game. I'm excited. I'm just as excited for the game as I was a week ago, but I don't have like this weird uneasy feeling like I did going into the Lions game. I actually think, weirdly enough, and maybe this is like a segue to a good hot take for tomorrow if they won, but maybe that loss was a good thing. Maybe that loss ended up being good motivation and practice and tendencies that they can use to win the actual playoff game that's in front of them tonight. I don't feel as uneasy as I did a week ago going in that Lions game.
I don't. I feel the same way in that and that's because to me this whole month is a free roll. They're traveling on the road. If they win, they're going on the road again next week. They are not regarded as one of the 4 or 5 top Super Bowl favorites. This is a really if they had beat the Lions and now you get a bye and you're playing home games, now it becomes you only get a few chances like this in your franchise's history. This is not one of those times. This is not 1998. This is not 2009. This is a really hard road, and every win from this point forward is sort of a bonus and gravy. And they have a really bright future. Yes, Super Bowl before we die, but I am not like calling for heads and KOC and hot seat and all this. This has been a really fun, unexpected, successful season. They have a bright future in front of them. Yes, you'd like to take advantage when you win 14 games, but circumstance matters. There are other 14 and 15 win teams that are playing home games and or getting bye weeks in the first round. So we'll see what happens. Also, a shout out to Federated. Appreciate them powering us here live on the Purple Daily YouTube channel today. It's like having a great offensive line for your business, making sure that while you focus on growing your business, they stay focused on safety, preventing claims, risk management, and all of that framework. You can find a full list of industries Federated supports and works with, and you can find a full listing of their history too at federatedinsurance.com, going back to 1904. Federated, where it's our business to protect yours. If you haven't already, click that like button and the subscribe button on the Purple Daily YouTube channel, and we'll keep giving you at least one, sometimes 2 or 3 episodes a day here on this. And then Apple and Spotify too, a 5-star rating and a positive review, please. Helps us keep growing the show. For the Sports Dad, for Dex, our producer, I am Phil. We'll see you tonight. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. If you beat the Rams, you get a step closer.